we're pretty honest about who we are. I think to go back and see what I do for a living, we have to look at my education. So I actually went to WPI, Worcester Polytechnic Institute in Worcester, Massachusetts, and I studied mechanical engineering. Mechanical engineering was completely an accident. I actually started as pre-med because I was like, oh, I'm gonna go into like biology. I liked my bio classes in high school, and I actually thought I was gonna go into like medicine. But instead, I found machines and cars and all those things, and it was almost like I realized, wait a minute, why are you going into medicine? You hate blood and you love cars, so let's do mechanical. So that's where I started, and then after graduation, I went into industry and I worked for a manufacturing company that made labels for the garment industry. So for 6 years or so, I was actually traveling to third world countries. Wherever your clothes say made in is where I'd be jumping on a plane to about 3 weeks a month. So I traveled around 200,000 miles a year. So I'd be in Vietnam, Indonesia, Sri Lanka, India, I'd go to Germany sometimes, Honduras, El Salvador, Mexico, and I would just bounce around to these places to try to improve their factories. So YouTube came about because during that time in college, I made a lot of really good friends. My best friend, Anton, he passed away, and one of the things that he left behind was all these incredible videos from our college years. So when I could go back, as I was mourning and grieving, I could go back and see him and hear him laugh and hear him talk and kind of just like remember what he was like. So I started YouTube because I had some cameras and I really just wanted to film my friends. I just wanted to make sure I had a record of everybody, and I wanted to make sure that like it wasn't for anybody else, it was just to film. I was just having fun making something and knowing that if something were to happen, super morbid, but if something were to happen, I'd have video evidence of them.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I actually did not know that.
Today, I work as a program manager for another manufacturing company in the automotive sector. I make sure that a product from its initial concept phase makes it through the design engineers, manufacturability, and release into the field with all the necessary validations, qualifications, and we get a quality part into the market. So because the auto industry is pretty regulated, it's almost like medicine. In the future, I don't know. I mean, I would love to be doing this full time. I'd love to be out reviewing cars. I'd love to be out traveling with my friends, and that's kind of what YouTube's allowed me to do. And Winding Road Magazine has been an amazing stepping stone into that, because when Chris Amos brought me onto that team, it put me in a position where I had an audience instead of 5,000 or 10,000 people, I had an audience of 400,000 people, and we've continued to grow that. So if I could make any wish, it would just be to drive strangers' cars and talk about them. It's my favorite thing in the world. Tedward, it's evolved a lot. If you go way, way back, you'll see me traveling with my significant others in the past who are no longer in my life. It went from vlogs and just making sure that I was creating content to straight up car content to stuff with the boys where we're out on the boat, car reviews, whatever. I see Tedward as a lot more freeform. I think it's something that I want people to follow because of the personality and that they trust my opinions on vehicles as kind of an average person. I'm not a supercar owner. I'm not a yuppie. I'm somebody who, I'm gonna lay it down as honestly as possible. And because I've had access to the types of cars that I've driven, it means that although I might get giddy if you were to throw me the keys to a Lamborghini, I can also be pretty critical of it. And I'm gonna tell you the things I don't like about it. You hand me a car, if it's a Lamborghini Huracan, I'm gonna complain about the touch points and how it's basically like plastic toggle switches in a $300,000 car. That kind of stuff bothers me. And a Volkswagen Golf basically has the same key as an Aventador SV. It's kind of lame. I definitely want to get on the track a lot more. This season was really the first time that I was able to get out there and film, and it's obviously a lot more controlled and safer than driving hard on the street. As much as we enjoy doing that as a group, it puts a lot of limitations on what you're actually able to do with your car, because you're not going to get out on a back road and have warm enough tires to just destroy stuff. I mean, you can do it, but it's dangerous, and if you mess it up, you're going into the trees. And in the types of areas that we drive that way in, typically there's no cell service. So if something were to happen to us, it's 100% our liability, it's our fault, and we're gone, that's it. And that's the reality of it. Luckily, I've surrounded myself with people who I trust behind the wheel. There's a big difference between going out with a group of folks who you don't trust and who you do trust. And that's why you don't see me really on a whole lot of rallies, because a lot of times the rally atmosphere, you get a lot of young, inexperienced guys who want to show off. And especially if they've got money, it means that they've got cars that are too fast. And things can get out of control really quickly. And if you look at any personal footage from a lot of the rallies that everyone swoons over, you'll see a lot of dangerous moves that people got lucky on. In the winter, there's definitely going to be a heck of a lot more Raptor footage from David, because we're going to be out there doing some Doriftos. Yeah, he's shaking his head right now. But definitely more of the M3. It's not going away this winter, so the M3 is going to be out there. But more importantly, I think we're going to do more of kind of this series. I'm excited to be able to bring people into Renscott to see what David has to offer. And this is a great spot to be kind of like open and talk about what we do. We're pretty honest about who we are. So that's something that I always want to keep in the channel, and that's something that I've noticed that as channels get really, really big, they get almost cartoonish and they all follow the same path. So I'm not going to call people out individually, but you'll notice as people grow and grow and grow, the format, they get really tight into a format because it's a formula that works for them, and that's great for growth and money, but you start to lose the personality of the person. And for me, like some of the things that I've filmed, some of my most successful videos aren't things I even liked. We filmed a video and I didn't even want to put it together, and that one has over 200,000 views. And some of the videos that I love the most are just me and the boys or having fun with certain cars, and maybe they're at 20,000 views. And that always is like disappointing, because you're like, man, that's the one that should have gone big. That's the one I'm proud of. So for me, it's like I'm always going to just keep at it. And mentors in the community like Dr. M3, he's somebody who's always told me, stick with what you want to film. Film what you want to film. And so I've just been doing that. I love the fact that I coined Tedward as my name for YouTube, because I forget faces a lot, and if I go to a car show or something and someone comes up and says, hey Tom, I know that I know them from something personal. If they say, hey Ted, I know they know me from YouTube. So
that's great.
It actually makes it really easy to differentiate between where people know me from. If there's one thing I could tell the automotive community, it would be respect the drive. And that means so many things to me. That's not only respect what you're doing when you're behind the wheel, but don't give up on your passions and don't let people slow you down. If you've got drive, you gotta respect it.